Kuma mĩaka ya hau gabere atumia makoretwo matarĩ na uge makĩria harĩ biacara, no kũgerera ikundi cia kũhũranĩra ihoto cia atumia, atumia nĩ magĩte na kanya ga kwĩyaria na gwĩka maũndũ marĩa mangĩenda mũtũrĩre-inĩ, gũtarĩ na mũndũ ũramahũra na kũmera matingĩhota tondũ o nĩ atumia. Na nĩkĩo kiumia gĩkĩ, tabarĩra-inĩ ya Tenda Wema, tũramũrĩka kĩmwe gĩa ikundi iria ciĩrutĩire kũnyitĩrĩra atumia nĩguo makahota kwĩrũgamia, gĩkundi kĩa The Female Founder, gĩkĩnyitĩrĩra atumia arĩa marĩ biacara-inĩ.
And actually this dream is just 6 weeks old, and I'm a brand strategist and I'm a communication expert. I've done that for 10 years. So I knew if I needed to do something different apart from branding, apart from communication, I had a vision to bring together female founders.
Mwambĩrĩri wa gĩkundi gĩkĩ Njogu atarĩirie maũndũ marĩa akoretwo akĩgerera ta mũhũri wa biacara na mũciari, nĩmo mamũreheire rĩciria rĩa kwambĩrĩria gĩkundi gĩkĩ kĩrĩ kĩa atumia take, kũmomĩrĩria akiuga ti hahũthũ kũiganania bamĩrĩ, biacara. Oho akiuga Eva Mũraya, ũmwe wa atumia arĩa marĩ biacara-inĩ, niwe ũkoretwo arĩ kĩonereria kĩnene kũrĩ we.
I run 4 businesses. I'm in advertising. One of the business is actually inspired by one of the founders, Eva Mũraya here. I could not be here if it was not for you. So she doesn't know that. Actually, she does not even remember me, but I am here because of her. When you're doing branding and strategy, you do a lot of pitches. I think Eva can attest to that. And I had this brand that I have been looking at. You know, I knew I'm going to make millions, yeah? I knew hii ni ile brand nikipata kwanza naenda Dubai just to rest. But unfortunately, things happen and I didn't get it. However, that's besides the point. So I decided to go home, very tired, very frustrated, and I had freshly just painted my car. I have a daughter. I have 3 kids under 5 years. Wow. So you can imagine it's not easy to navigate. Actually, you can't balance, you just navigate. So, and my daughter is 5 years, just told me she's very excited. She could actually write 1 to 10. And she had written on my car, you know. I just hugged her, but with pain. I had just, from losing one of the biggest gigs in my life, she has just written 1 to 10 on my car. And then I sat down and I was like, how do even people navigate through this? You know, he also needs to be served as a wife and still do my personal responsibility. That's why I was like, I need to come up with something. I need to feel, do other female founders feel the same way I feel? Overwhelmed, frustrated, unable to balance, but still finding a way to navigate boldly through it all.
Nimo nĩ arehete hamwe ahũri biacara matiganĩte nĩguo kũmanĩrĩria, ũmwe wao arĩ Teresa Njoroge, ũrĩa nĩ wakiri na mwambĩrĩria wa Clean Start Africa, akĩheana thabarĩ yake yambĩrĩirie thutha wa gwĩkũĩrwo na wĩici wa mbeca cia bengi ĩrĩa arutaga wĩra arĩ ta mũrũgamĩrĩri mũnene.
It was at that time I had just gotten employed in the bank, and I was now beginning to build my career in the banking sector. And you know, I used to admire women like Eva who had made it and are bold and courageous. But for me, I just wanted to be a career banker. I wanted to grow within the financial sector. It's something I had dreamt about since I was a 9-year-old. My dad has always been my hero to date, and as a career banker for about 3 decades, and having observed, you know, just how he carried it without knowing the behind the scenes struggles, I knew, you know, my life had already been set. So a decade into growing this career, it was actually the beginning of the year. You've made your decisions and plans of, you know, what the year will be like. And I remember that particular year, I had just made plans for the next 2 years and about 8 months. And so we get back to work post our Christmas holidays, and a gentleman walks into the banking hall and is like, we're here looking for Teresa Njoroge. And I am like, why do you, I am Teresa Njoroge, how may I be of assistance to you? So this particular time I'm thinking it's a client like any other. And they say to me, we're actually here to arrest you. And I freeze for a minute and I resist it. How can you just walk into the banking hall and say that you want to arrest me? And they say to me, we're here to arrest you based on transaction XYZ, a transaction that I had been involved in that was a fraudulent transaction. And we were about 12 of us who had handled this transaction. And so what now I was waiting for, because this was about, it's not top of my mind, but I think it was about a year plus post handling that transaction. So we've moved on. And what I'm waiting for at this particular time is the final report post the investigations. And little did I know that that was the end of my banking career. So at this time I'm still thinking to myself, we will sort this out. So morning comes and this guy comes for me and he says to me as he's about to take my fingerprints, and he asks me, do you have $1 million Kenya shillings? And I'm like, what for? And he's like, if you give me $1 million Kenya shillings, you'll walk. So I say to him, how is it you know I'm innocent, but you want me to give you $1 million shillings for you to let me walk? To your point around character, our moral conscience really needs to come back up. Because this guy was so confident that he was going to get the $1 million shillings. He went on to ask me, you should be busy making calls right now. And I'm like, I'm not calling anybody. You know I'm innocent. I didn't commit any crime. You've come for me. You want $1 million? No. So he takes me to court. At that time, we were still where they've got the Supreme Court, is where the courts still were, and I get charged. And as I'm getting charged, there are all these people taking my photos and all this, and I'm like, did I become a celebrity overnight? Little did I know that by the time I had taken the plea of not guilty, and I'm now in those dingy cells down there, now waiting to be taken to remand, because they've talked about the bail terms, and I don't have a lawyer. I have absolutely nothing. I left work yesterday morning. I'm now in these cells, wondering what really has happened. And as I am going through this process, I watch the 4 p.m. news, and the headlines, bank manager, Teresa Njoroge, and you're like, you're even reporting it in the news, so you begin to wonder, how do they even validate the news that they spread across the world? By the time I was getting to Langata, the remand section, the whole world had already been informed, I'm a thief, bank manager thief. So anyway, long and short of that, I get released soon after because my family comes, pays the bail, I get a lawyer, and immediately I leave remand. I get a call from my employers, come and sign your termination letter.
Teresia atũmĩkĩire kĩoho kĩa mĩaka 2.5 njera-inĩ ya atumia ya Lang'ata marĩ hamwe na mwana wake ũrĩa warĩ na mĩeri 3 ihinda rĩu, thutha wa jaji kuuga kwarĩ na ũhotekeku wake gũkorwo akuruhanĩtio na wĩici hatarĩ na ũira mũiganu.
I had become this meme that was being shared around, Mulika Mwizi. And the Mwizi is me. And I'm looking at the meme, and it's my friends. I'm like, what? And it's circulating in the WhatsApp groups, and you're seeing yourself. It was just painful. So 2.5 years later, we've been through court, no evidence. So I'm like, you've wasted my 2.5 years. The audacity, he now asks me for 5 million and says the cut is now, we need to divide this cut amongst a couple of people. So you need to give me 5 million shillings. And anytime you have fear, you have doubts, you start renegotiating who you are. Please, that's the time to double down deeper. That time when you're feeling that fear. And to your point around mentors, the people around you can make you or break you. Guard your circle with lots of jealousy and zealous. So I got blessed with my firstborn daughter, and we named her Oma. And so we're in court waiting for judgment, and the 3 counts of theft are dropped. And the last for conspiracy, the magistrate says you could have known that this was a fraudulent transaction, and so you might have conspired. And honestly, I didn't hear what else she said after that, but she convicted me to serve a year at Langata Women Maximum Prison. So all I knew from that point on is my little sweet Oma was about 3 months at that time, and we are in the Kenya prisons bus service headed to Langata.
Teresa augĩte ũndũ ũyũ nĩguo waninire wĩra wake wa bengi na agĩtua itua rĩa kuoya njĩra ya watho nĩguo kũhũranĩra ihoto cia atumia arĩa maragerera marĩa agereire, akiuga marĩ na nyũmba igĩrĩ kũrĩa atumia arĩa maumĩte njera mokaga nĩguo kũmateithĩrĩria kwĩrũgamia rĩngĩ.
Prison. 700 stories later, my time came and I left Langata. When I got out, I had not prepared myself for the stigma that was waiting for me. No one wanted to come anywhere near me. You didn't hear. And someone sees me and they just walk away, stigmatizing someone because of a story you heard. The labels and titles we give our fellow sisters, the divorcee, so you cannot come to this school, you're the, or whatever titles we give fellow sisters and keep stigmatizing them, keep judging them, which is also very wrong. Anyway, I went through all that, but it was beautiful because that pain that I went through the stigma, the lack of work, and this stigma was not just to me, it was also extended to my siblings, it was also extended to my parents. We come from Kiambu, so the Kiambu market day is normally on Fridays, and my mom goes to the market every single Friday. She wouldn't go to the market, because anytime she's going to the market, the mouth, Mama ya mwizi. We all know he's not. Anyway, I rolled all that down when I got so depressed. I remember I was going to pick my daughter from her kindergarten, and I was so depressed, and my daughter asked me, "Mommy, why have you not changed your clothes this morning?" And I was like, because of this little girl, she will never see me this way again. And I was like, this is where I drew the line for the next generation and more generations to come. This is where we draw the line. And that's how I set up Clean Start. 10,000 women later. And you know what I say to those women? It doesn't matter what your past is. You have already paid the price. I don't care whether you came here as a murderer. I don't care whether you came here as a thief. The programs that we run, this is a ticket that we're giving you to envision, the audacity of vision. Dream again. What's your excuse? What's your excuse to dream again? There's so much more we can achieve. So set perspective, number one. Setbacks, they are just setups for you to recalibrate and pivot yourself for the next. You know what? I was a banker one. It's a different season right now. I'm serving on a Clean Start. It's incredible. We're empowering people. And we're not yet started because the criminal justice system has to really turn around and get reformed. So we're not yet done, we just started. That's where we are. We've got a safe house where the women who leave prison, so we've got two safe houses, the one in Ridgeways and the one in Kisumu. And this is where the women who come out of prison come and stay if they have nowhere to go. And why did we set up that safe house? Because I witnessed a woman commit suicide herself and scorched her son when they came out, and they were so stigmatized that the best thing that she could do was kill herself and get herself out of this world. So we set up this safe house. We've got a textile space, we've got a culinary, hair salon, beauty. My goodness, I had a lot about hair salon, beauty, and all that kind of stuff. So I'll definitely be reaching out to see how we can continue supporting these women and increasing their skills and talents across the country and beyond.
Wakiri Njogu onake arĩ na rũgano ta rũrũ, akiuga ũrĩa athitangirwo nĩ ithe ũndũ ũrĩa wahutirie ũgima wake wa meciria.
I had been accused by my own dad he had falsely accused me and my son for having assaulted him. We found ourselves at the very bitter intersection of very bitter matrimonial property rights battle between my dad and my mom. And my dad innocently a victim of patriarchy, because you know all this entitlement is part of patriarchy, and he could not hear that my mom was entitled to her share of property. And because he used to say, I'm the lawyer in the family, I must have been the one who advised her, he decided to frame me. While in Addis, I get a call that there are warrants of arrest against me. And I have no idea from who. So I come back and I hear they are trying to arrest you at the airport, because at that time I was very, very active on the forefront. And I come in nonetheless. I go through all the police stations in Nairobi trying to ask, do you have warrants against Njogu? Do you have warrants against Njogu? And then finally I get to know it's my dad. That's how I get to know it's my dad who has warrants of arrest against the daughter, where he had filed a criminal case saying that we split his head into two with my son. And imagine on the basis of that, so when you hear Teresa's story of 1 million, 5 million, you know, these things happen to real women, to real people in this part of this world. Fast forward, in the first 3 seconds of his case, because he repeated the lie, Anne and the son split my head. One side fell this side, the other side fell this side. I fell on the ground. I rested for an hour. I woke up, I put my head this side up, and I drove myself not to hospital. I drove myself home. I stayed home for 3 months. 3 months after I went and reported this case. And then I went to hospital. The court had to warn him and ask his lawyer, please tell your client that he's under oath and he can go in for contempt. And he would repeat those, and the court says, so you had your head split? Yes. And you are here speaking? Yes. Because you see, and it's so ironical. So fast forward.
Akĩũria atumia gwethaga ũteithio, kuona maũndũ marĩa mageragĩra no macũngĩrĩrie nginyagia biacara ciao kũgũa.
When you are the one who gives, you are the voice of those who have no voice. Teresa, I'm not very sure if you had come to me at that time, if I would have had the voice. Because the first thing that happens is that when you're the strong person, you're the one who goes out there and does things, and then now you have a wound, such as a father's wound, and it's your own father accusing you, all your confidence disappears. Somebody talked about fears and imposter syndrome. And for me, I couldn't understand, if I am this very highly recognized, reputable lawyer, how it is that I had found myself where I had found myself. And that is what took away a lot of my confidence, my conviction, and my capital. Because momento, I forgot that I came loaded, coded, and all I needed was to tap into that. And that's why in one of my courses, modules, I talk about the 3 C's of confidence, conviction, and capital. Because you can have it one day, and then because of your journey of life, you can lose it all. And fast forward, I was able to, behind all this, the media will not ask you about the old woman whose rights you are defending. Nobody is talking about my poor mom. Nobody is talking about, and in that moment of confusion, you forget that this is what you normally do. This is like what I had done for Agnes Movama when she was trying to, when she was drinking water from the swimming pool, showering from the swimming pool. But because it was me in the limelight, I could not be able to say to the world that my dad is an abuser.
Anne arĩ ũmwe wa atumia arĩa matakomaga gũtigĩrĩra atumia nĩ mona kĩhoto kĩao gĩa gũkorwo athuri ti aingĩ thĩinĩ wa mbunge gũkĩra atumia, na gĩcunjĩ kĩa 2/3 nĩkĩo 2/3 gender rule. Nĩ atuĩte itua rĩa kũnyitanĩra na Teresa Njoroge gũcenjia igeca iria irĩ watho-inĩ nĩguo kũnyihia namba ya atumia arĩa mekoraga njera-inĩ matarĩ na mahĩtia.
I'm going to help you.
Oh, thank you.
I'll help you in working in the criminal justice system, because that is some of the work that I started as a founder of CREW. And one instance, I visited the Langata Women's Hospital, and there were only 2 times when I almost folded my very impactful work at CREW. The first time is the time I visited Langata Women's Hospital. 3 interviews down the line, all women, very innocent. And I asked myself, if the work I was doing in criminal, in the justice, in the human rights and justice transformation was working, why did we have so many innocent women in Langata? And I couldn't sleep for weeks, and I'm the kind of person, when I'm disturbed by something, I can go on and on and on. So I want to help you, and I think I know what we need to do. We worked with Millie to bring on the Sexual Offences Act. I'm part of the women who wrote the Constitution. We worked with Judith Ongori to bring the kind of laws that changed you as women to have access to matrimonial property rights. So I know what we need to do in the criminal justice system, and it must be done. Point number 2 is...
Nĩtũcemanie kiumia tũrorete, tũgĩthiĩ na mbere na rũgano rũrũ rwa kũũmĩrĩria atumia arĩa marambĩrĩria biacara na arĩa magereire maũndũ maritũ kwĩrũgamia rĩngĩ. Nginyagia kiumia tũrorete, tabarĩra nĩ Tenda Wema na rĩtwa rĩakwa nĩ Wangari wa Kamau.